Well, welcome to RockEyez, Lord of Trident, Fang. Um, Congratulations on the new album coming out in October.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. And you're also going to have a release party?
Yep, we're having a CD release party here in Madison with our buddies in Psychostick. We've been friends with them for a long time, and we're looking forward to sharing the bill with those guys and hanging out and drinking some beer.
Cool, 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 cool. The name of the album is V.G.E.P, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to ask you what that means, which is video game EP.
Yep.
Where'd you come up with that name?
Well, we couldn't think of anything more original, but the EP itself is full of songs that are inspired by some of our favorite video games.
Right.
So we decided to just sort of kind of run with that motif. A lot of the songs that we have on this album are on this EP are leftovers from when we wrote our last album, The Offering, which was a concept record. And these were songs that we sort of, many of them at least, we deemed sort of like too happy. The last concept record was a little bit more of a tragic tale. So we thought, okay, we'll save these for another album or another, some B-sides after the fact. We had enough of them where we said, okay, well, let's just go ahead and record all these and make an EP, and we'll throw in a cover of Steve Winwood's Valerie while we're at it. So
Cool, cool. Let's go down track by track, and tell me your feelings about each song and stuff like that. I guess the first track is "To Kill a God."
yeah, so this track is it's based off of Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI is one of our favorite. It's my favorite game of all time,
Right.
like hands down. Complete. This is the pinnacle, I think. And the Baron, our lead guitarist, would probably agree with me because he and I really connected over our shared love of that game, of the storyline. This is actually the second song that we've ever written about Final Fantasy VI. The first one being off of Shadows from the Past, a song called Figaro. But yeah, we when the Baron like came up with this idea, it really sounded like the battle music
Right.
in the Final Fantasy games. So we're like, okay, we can run with this. And then for the music video, we actually did something that no other humans have done before, and that is we shot the music video in essentially a Tesla coil field when our drummer was getting constantly hit by 100,000 volts
Mhm.
of electricity. We ended up having to build a Faraday suit for him for that music video, and I think it turned out great. I think it's one of the best music videos I've ever created. I don't know how I'm gonna like one up myself on that one, honestly, because I don't know where to go from here. Like, do we jump out of a plane the next time? Like, I'm not 100% sure. We gotta keep the high risk of death music videos going, I guess. So, yeah.
Cool. I think I saw that this morning. I saw lightning bolts on a video on YouTube and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. And I'm sure it costs a little bit of money,
It did.
So yeah. So I'm saying, man, these guys got some bucks, So like, you
Well,
know,
we saved our pennies here and there, and we do have the support from a lot of wonderful people on our Patreon. We're the number one most supported independent metal band on Patreon, and we're extremely proud of that. So yeah, we've got a lot of people giving us a lot of monthly support, and it allows us to do really dumb things like try to electrocute our drummer to death, fly to Japan, put together a major festival. I mean,
yeah,
like, without that support, we wouldn't be able to do these crazy things that we do. So
cool,
yeah.
cool. And it seems like you play out pretty often, So like, a lot of live shows. At least people get to see you, you know.
Yeah, we try, and I think as we move into 2025, we're working on another album right now, right in the beginning stages of it. As we move into 2025, I think we're going to be doing more longer tours,
Right.
like supporting more major acts, and probably a little bit less regional touring.
Right.
But if anybody wants to bring us out to festivals or whatnot, we're always up for that. So.
Cool, cool. Second track, Master of Speed. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, Master of Speed originally was written by the Baron as a sort of, as he described it to me, sort of like invoking the sort of carefree days of summer where you're like, running around and that kind of stuff. I heard it a little different. I heard it as this kind of like almost background to a racing track. So we decided to make it about F-Zero,
Right.
one of the original racing games out there, especially for the Super Nintendo. And yeah, it's one of those songs that when we play it live, it's really fun because all of the guitarists and the bassists get to sort of come together and play these riffs that are all sort of intertwined. That's one
Right.
of the things that I think the Baron does really well in his writing is he's got a super strong strength of writing uh, lines that work together, for both the guitars and the bass, kind of conjoining all of that musicality together. So you
Right.
get to see that live, and there's a lot of, a lot of riffing, a lot of like simultaneous shredding, as it were.
Yeah.
So that's a really fun one to play live, and we've been playing that live a lot. So
Cool. 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 Uh, Jet Set City.
yeah, Jet Set City is this one was written by Aki. And this one has a lot of like sass to it, It's got that sort of, you can always almost like kind of like finger wag to it,
Yeah.
A lot of Aki's material has that sort of sass and that 80s swagger, if you will. And it really reminded me that kind of swagger sort of reminded me of like kind of a rebellious attitude. And one of the games that I think, complement that attitude really well is a game called Jet Grind Radio
Mhm.
for the Dreamcast, which is I played. I think that was probably the first game I ever like 100%ed.
Right.
So I played a lot about that. Interestingly, the soundtrack to Jet Grind Radio is a lot more hip hop focused.
Right.
Since it's about rollerblading, it's about graffiti, it's about that sort of stuff. But I felt like this motif worked really well with that, and so that's what we wrote it about. And the music video, which is coming out in a couple days, actually, is it's got a really cool graffiti aesthetic to it.
Mhm.
A lot of rollerblading and a lot of well, you get to see me not quite biff it on the rollerblades, but I will say in the outtakes there was a few. There were a few biffs. There were a few falling down on the concretes. So look forward to that, I suppose.
Cool. Cool. What kind of twist did you put on Valerie?
Yeah, Valerie, I think a lot of people are either familiar with Valerie from the original release, or they're familiar with it from the very popular Eric Pride's, Call on Me
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, music video. Um, but I remember listening to the original, growing up and hearing it on the radio, and specifically I remember always like hearing it on the sort of shitty mall speakers
Right.
as
Yeah.
I was walking towards the arcade. I always heard that song for some reason, and so it reminds me of like the arcade and video games. So obviously the original is really synth focused. It's really keyboard heavy,
Right.
right? So when we did a little spin on it, we made that a lot more guitar focused, a lot more power metal. The drums are obviously a lot more driving on this one. And according to I don't have much experience in this one, but according to both of our guitarists, this is one of the more difficult songs to actually perform on the guitar because it wasn't written for the guitar originally. Trying to recreate those synth lines on the guitar can be really challenging, where it's simple on a synth or a keyboard.
Right.
It's can be extremely challenging on the guitar. So we brought a little bit more power metal flavor to it, and we brought a little bit more um, drive, right, to this song. Yeah, and we, one of the also fun things about the music video, we made a music video for every song. One of the fun things about this music video is we tried to sort of recreate that original like hand painted style that you
Right.
see in the 1987 version of Steve Winwood's Valerie. And that was quite a challenge, and that was really fun to attempt to do. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. How about the Ballad of Jon Milwaukee?
So this one, a lot of people have questions about this one. This one is based on the game Road Rash.
Right.
And so I have a Twitch stream. I stream twice a week. On Mondays, I do like a gaming stream. And on Fridays, I do sort of a singing karaoke opera kind of a stream. So for a long time during the pandemic, we were playing different Sega CD related titles. And one of those titles was Road Rash. And it was another game I grew up with. I played the crap out of, absolutely loved. And so we had, I don't know, weeks and weeks and weeks of playing Road Rash on the stream, trying to beat it, probably at least a month or two. And one of the characters in the PC version of Road Rash is called Jon Milwaukee. So in the Sega CD version and in all the other versions, he's called Milwaukee John. But on the PC version, they switched it.
Right, yeah.
So we were playing the PC version, and on the stream, a bunch of our fans who were watching and watching the stream, commenting along, we were coming up with these like tall tales for Jon Milwaukee. Like, oh yeah, one time I heard he beat 40 people in a fist fight, and oh yeah, he drinks his weight in alcohol, and oh yeah. And so when the Baron came up with this song, it really kind of oozed that like motorcycle modern rock, almost sort of like rock radio aesthetic. He was in a separate story, but he was actually trying to write it in sort of response to one of the local modern rock radio stations like never playing us.
Right.
So he's like, okay, I'll give him a song that they literally have to play. So when that came out, I decided to take all of those tall tales from the stream and craft them into this sort of ballad, the Ballad of Jon Milwaukee, that tells the tale of this crazy biker and all the things that he's done. And I will say it's been one of those songs that a lot of the hardcore fans who show up to like every show ask us if we're playing. They really enjoy, and a lot of the people, the chorus that you hear on that song, the people screaming Jon Milwaukee, that was about 150 of our Patreon backers who came out to a Patreon exclusive show, and we set up microphones. We actually recorded them singing Jon Milwaukee, so they're all on the tracks. That was a fun thing for them as well.
Oh, sure it is. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the Mile High Power Fest. Was that cool or what?
Yeah, Mile High Power Fest was great. Soren from Celestial Wizard was the one who was putting it together. And we've been buddies with those guys for a year or two now. They played our festival, Mad Power Fest, and so we went out, and it was their first year, and it was like all first years, there were a few road bumps here and there, but the great thing about it, I think, is that almost all of the bands that were on that lineup this year, at least the last maybe 5 or 6 bands, right? We were all friends. We've all played together. We all know each other really, really well. We've all collaborated with each other. We've been on tours together. And so, I felt like it really felt like a community event coming together with these other bands, getting to spend time with them, getting everybody in the same room. That was the thing that was the most fun. Of course, I thought everybody played great. I felt like we played really well. And I felt like the crowd was super enthusiastic, and it was great to go out to Denver. We only have been out to Denver, I think, like we've only played Colorado like 3 or 4 times, I want to say. And so it's been a hot minute since we've been in Colorado, and it was just great to be there, great to be back, great to see a lot of the fans that we haven't seen in a long time. And yeah, get to spend that special moment of first year of a festival with a bunch of friends that we're really, really close with and really happy to be around.
Cool. Now the offering came out on clear green vinyl. Can you tell me the new album? What anything special coming out?
Well, we've got the CD version of the album coming out. What we're kind of looking at, obviously, right, vinyl is extremely expensive to make, and so we're kind of looking at what we typically do is we look at response, sales numbers, and we just kind of have a pull the temperature of the band, like, do we release this on vinyl, do we not? If I had to gaze into my crystal ball, I would say that this one is probably not going to drop on vinyl unless there's some sort of crazy reaction to it. We'll probably save the money for vinyl for the next full length, which we're working on. But I think one of the special things that we did for this one, that we released for this one, is the idea of doing a music video for every single track.
Cool.
So that's I think what we put a lot more of our time and attention into, rather than putting it on vinyl. That being said, I will say, if there's this gigantic outcry and people absolutely want it on vinyl, we might run a Kickstarter, we might do a vinyl release. Who knows? I'll never say never.
Cool, cool. Tell me about live streaming concerts. You enjoy that?
Oh, love it. Absolutely love it. We were really lucky because during the pandemic, just as the pandemic hit, about maybe 9 months before that, we had put together our first like in-ear monitoring rig.
Right.
We weren't doing in-ears before. I was really gung-ho about it. I wanted to do it. And about 9 months before the pandemic, we put together this monitoring rig, started using it. One of the side effects that I found of the monitoring rig is that I could record, like multi-track record every single concert, mix it and release it for like a bootleg for the Patreon.
Right.
And B, we could mix and send out a fully mixed signal to like a webcam to live stream. So for 9 months, we were doing basically like a drummer cam and live streaming it, but we were we were sending it out like fully mixed for our Patreon backers as we were doing it. So then when the pandemic hit, we already had the in-ear system, we already had the live stream mix kind of set up. All we had to do was essentially add a few more cameras.
Right.
And we had like a TV studio essentially in the basement. So over the course of of the pandemic of a couple of years, we collected cameras, we upgraded our setup, we did all that sort of stuff, and we did a lot of live streaming concerts during the pandemic, which was really great. And I think kind of was a big boon for us in terms of popularity during the pandemic, because there was not a lot of people doing it, or a lot of people were trying to set that up where we already had it like in place essentially. So that was really great for us. And nowadays, when we are doing our own concerts, or when we're on a concert where the other bands don't mind, we bring along 4 cameras, we set up a full live stream, and we try to live stream as many concerts as we possibly can, so that people who don't normally see us or don't normally get a chance, maybe they're in Japan, maybe they're in Europe, maybe we only come over there every other year, every couple of years. It gives them a chance to still see the concerts, to still be a part of the community. So I absolutely love live streaming concerts, and I love doing them. I also very much appreciate when bands do live streams that are actually live. One of the things that was like a mild pet peeve of mine during the pandemic was when I would buy a ticket to like a live stream, and it was clearly just a video that they had pre-recorded. I'm like, it takes so much of the danger out of it. If you have no danger, why even live? Just sell the recording. I don't know.
Tell me about Sonic Symphony.
Yeah, I'm actually headed to Boston this weekend in a couple days to go play with the Sonic Symphony. So in March of this year, I got a message from my good friend Adrian, who's the singer for Seven Spires, and she said, hey, I might have a gig for you. The Sonic Symphony is looking for a singer. And at the time she messaged me, I had no idea what the Sonic Symphony is. Like, you hear that and you think, oh, it's a Trans-Siberian Orchestra sort of a, and then I go down to my, it's 6 a.m. She's messaging me from Japan. It's 6 a.m. I like pop down to my computer. I'm all groggy. I'm like, I type in Sonic Symphony and I see Sonic the Hedgehog pop up, and I'm like, I lose it. I'm like, I'm in. I don't care what it is. I'm in. Yeah, I did a little audition, flew to Montreal, played a show with them, and they liked me. So they ended up hiring me as their singer. So it's me and Adrian singing. We're either swapping shows where she plays one, I play one, or nowadays a lot more we're singing together, which is really fun. Super duper fun to sing with Adrian. She is just an absolutely incredible, super talented singer. and a great human being. I just love hanging around with her. So yeah, I am in the, absolutely incredible position to like fly around the world and sing Sonic the Hedgehog music to sold out crowds. We're playing these symphony halls that are holding like 4,000 people,
Uh-huh.
and they're just selling out, and the fans are rabid. The only That's the only way I can put them. They are rabid.
Right.
Um, I played two sold out shows on Broadway in June, and the nighttime show, the crowd, just the crowd, not us playing,
Uh-huh.
but the crowd screaming, peaked at
Uh-huh.
118 decibels.
Wow.
That,
Wow.
so like
Hey, yeah.
I'd turn my in-ear pack like all the way up just to hear myself because people were screaming so loud. So it's been really wonderful working with these people. And I just absolutely, have such a fun time playing these songs. And the all of the rest of the band in the Sonic Symphony are all Berkeley graduates. Even some of them are Berkeley professors.
Wow.
They're actually teaching at Berkeley. And so you can imagine how intimidating that would be, especially for my first show in March. I never met any of these people.
Right.
Literally everyone in the entire band is a Berkeley grad, and
Uh,
I'm just some random dude from the Midwest who makes mouth noises, right? So like, I don't know what the hell a Phrygian scale is. I don't know how to do like inverse Locrian. I can barely even. I can like read music. Like, I'm okay at reading music, but I can't read music like a Berkeley person can read
right.
music.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
God. So like I show up and I'm like, hi everybody, I don't know anything about music except how to make mouth noises. Here we go. But I guess they like me. So but it just kind of goes to show you the caliber of musicianship in that band, in that orchestra, is just off the charts.
Right.
So getting to play with those type of people is really amazing and humbling and just awesome. So yeah, I have a really fun time with the Sonic Symphony.
Cool. Cool. Well, what's that feeling like when you go out and all these people are there, like screaming at you? What do you feel like in your mind and in your body?
Oh, it's amazing. I have come to the realization, and I came to this very quickly. I think when I was, in high school, that everybody has their sort of happy place, right?
Right.
My happy place is on the stage. My happy place is, that's where I feel the most like myself.
Right.
You know, so when I can get out in front of a crowd, I mean, any size crowd,
Right.
but the bigger the crowd, obviously, the more amplified the effect. When I can get it in front of a crowd who, is really vibing and loves what I'm doing and loves what the band is doing, that is the greatest feeling for me in the entire world. I mean, really, it's the place where I'm the happiest. It's the place where I feel the most connected, you
Right.
know, and it is just it's pure joy, really. It's just pure joy. So the whole time I'm playing either with Lords or Sonic Symphony or whomever,
Right.
I absolutely love it. Absolutely.
Cool. Cool. Do you happen to collect anything? Because I see some framed pictures behind you and stuff like that. So what do you collect?
Yeah, I will say I suppose there's a few things I collect. I collect a certain I collect some series of manga.
Uh-huh.
Hunter x Hunter
Right.
is probably one of my favorite series. So I have every volume of that. Obviously, I'm a big video
Uh,
game and arcade nut. I've got two arcade machines over there. I suppose if
right.
I collect anything, I these are arcade machines behind me. As far as I'm aware, every single arcade game ever released on both of them, and
Uh-huh.
I've sort of segregated them by controller type. So
Right.
one
Yeah.
of them is for the fighters, one of them is for the shooters, that kind of stuff. So I'm somewhat of a hoarder of data and a hoarder of video games. The other thing that I definitely collect is, speaking of video games, I definitely collect Sega CD games.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people did not have a Sega CD. It was one of
Right.
those consoles that didn't really take off.
Right.
But when I was a kid, oh, I loved my Sega CD. I loved it. I especially loved it. Was the first console ever to have games on CD.
Right. Yeah.
So it was the first console to allow for full motion video in a
Right.
game, and back then people didn't know what the heck to do with that.
Right.
And video games were not considered, big budget AAA kind of a things. So they just hired, let's just say, actors,
Right.
right, to be in these games. And the bad acting in the Sega CD games is just, mwah, it's just one of my favorite things of all time. Hence why I did for so long during the pandemic. I did a Sega CD live stream because I wanted to share those games with other people who'd never had an opportunity to play them before.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely collect Sega CD games. There's a couple of Sega CD games that I have on my list, but they're, when I see them at conventions or whatever, they're going for like 400, 500, $600 a pop.
Right. Yeah.
You
Wow.
know, I collect, but I don't collect that hard, you know.
Right. Yeah. 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 So what's the feeling like when people ask for your autograph?
Oh, I mean, it's always I think pretty much any musician, even ones like me that have been at it for so long, um, I think always the response, the first response mentally is sort of like, really?
Yes.
Really? You know, because no matter, I think it takes a while to get to a certain level where you're like, oh yeah, they do want my autograph. There's a long, I think for most musicians, there's this long period of still just feeling like a regular guy. And I hope, I hope that most musicians out there, even the big ones, still
Right.
kind of feel that way,
Right.
I think if you don't, you start to get into weird egotistical problems, but I will say, it's always humbling. It's always a joy when people connect with what I'm doing, like artistically, musically,
Uh-huh.
and they like it so much that they want to engage with me. They want an autograph, that kind of thing. It really reminds me, of one of the reasons that we do this, and
Right.
that's to connect with people.
Right.
Without every musician says this, but it's inherently true. It's without the fans. I mean, we wouldn't be
Right.
anyone if there was nobody who enjoyed our music or came out to our concerts. We really wouldn't be a band. So it's always a blessing when somebody wants to engage with you in that way, wants an autograph. I try to take as much time as humanly possible. I try to follow the works of Dio, and
Uh-huh.
I try to take as much time as humanly possible to engage with the fans. I try to stay as late as I possibly can to like sign autographs. I hope that nobody ever leaves disappointed that wanted to meet me. I
Right.
try to always make time for that because it might not always be there. And
Right.
so, I'm going to try to make the most of it while it is.
Well, cool. What's your feeling about like Kiss just retired, but they're going to come out with avatars in like a couple of years? What, I'm not for it because I'm a Kiss fan and like I saw them live in the beginning and stuff like that. I just can't see me paying money to basically see a fake Kiss.
Yeah, I don't know about like on one hand,
Right.
people come out to see a virtual avatar like Hatsune Miku, right?
Right.
That's a very popular one. That in that case, there never was a real
Right.
Hatsune Miku, right? It was always an avatar. And so I give that a little bit more of a leeway. It's almost sort of like going to a DJ show or
Right.
going to like a dance club or something like that. So I understand that experience. Having avatars of bands that did exist in the
Right.
flesh, it feels weird. It feels like I don't think I would ever go out to one of those shows. I don't think I would ever be really interested. The tech would have to be, it would probably be more the tech that was bringing me out to the show
Right. Yeah.
than the actual show. I mean, I think for maybe for a lot of fans, but definitely for a lot of musicians,
Right.
there's this sort of like voice at the back of our head always saying, like, oh, but can they pull it off live?
Right. Yeah.
Like, you've heard the recorded version, but can they actually
Yeah.
actually pull it off live? And I think it's the same thing you run into with these avatar shows. You run into the same thing that you run into with what I was talking about earlier with pre-recorded live streams.
Right.
A lot of the reason for a live show is that sense that, you know, anything could happen at any moment. They could
Right.
have a good night, they could have a bad night. There is an essence of skill and danger involved
Right.
in playing live music. And I think if you remove that, you remove the sort of soul and spirit of what makes a live performance a live performance. You know, it's
Right.
that ethereal nature of the performance that it's here and it's gone, you know, and it'll never happen the same way ever again,
Right.
ever. So yeah, I think if you pre-record it, it just doesn't do the same thing for me.
Yeah. Me neither. You know. So what's the rest of the year look like for you?
Yeah, so like I said, this weekend and next weekend I'm with the Sonic Symphony. We're doing Boston and LA. We've got our CD release party on October 11th. Until then, we're going to be releasing a bunch of music videos and songs. The album officially comes out on October 1st, so we're
Mhm.
dropping it then. And after the CD release party, we don't have a lot scheduled until our Japan tour.
Right.
So we are going over to Japan in December with our buddies in Seven Spires. Talked a lot about them today. But you know, we're going over. We're co-headlining this Japan tour, and we're taking along 40 fans
Wow.
with us. So we're
Cool.
taking 20 from our Patreon, 20 from their Patreon, and they've signed up for a sightsee by day, follow us on tour by night, fully guided experience. We've got a travel company that is essentially setting up everything for us: hotels, transportation, interpretation, day events, all that sort of stuff. And they are just knocking out of the park. So the fans that come over will essentially get to, you know, have this full day Japan experience, have some dinner, and then go see the show every single night we're on tour. And then, you know, the nights that we have off nights where we're just like have a vacation day, you know, we'll all get to go and experience something together. We'll all get to hang out. We're going to go to hot springs. We're going to go on hikes. We're going to go to Ghibli, you know, the Ghibli world. We're going to go to the museums. We're going to go maybe Tokyo Disneyland. It's going to be crazy. We're going to
Yeah.
go all over. So that I'm really looking forward to. We did that for the first time in 2022, and we brought over 25 fans.
Right.
And that was honestly, that was one of the best tours that we've ever done. It was just us back then. It was just us back in 2022.
Right.
But it was the most amount of sleep that I've ever gotten on any tour ever.
Right.
I couldn't believe how much sleep I got on that tour. It was insane. So you know, and half the shows sold out.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to going back to Japan to, you know, to seeing our Japanese fans again, and to, you know, experience that with Seven Spires.
Right.
For many of these people, it's their first time ever going over to Japan.
Right.
So very excited to like see, you know, get to see somebody's reaction for the first time of doing that trip.
Cool. Well, Fang, it was great talking to you, and I appreciate the chat. A lot of information for people to listen to. And would you like to say anything to the fans?
Yeah, for those of you, you know, who are maybe checking us out for the very first time, hearing about us here on RockEyez, I would recommend checking out our YouTube, youtube.com/Lords of the Trident. We also have our main website where you can get to just about everything, lordsofthetrident.com. And if you really like what we're doing, best way to support the band is to jump on our Patreon, patreon.com/Lords of the Trident. We put so much extra content out there. And for $5, you can basically get pretty much like our last 4 albums. We've got 25 live CDs. We've got, you know, 10 plus singles. We do all, we release stuff all the time. So the Patreon is the best way to support the band and the best way to get a bunch of stuff in return. And for everybody out there who's already on the Patreon, who's already supporting us, who's already coming out to the concerts, you know, thank you for, you know, supporting Lords of the Trident, and you know, I hope to see you out at a future show, give you a fist bump and have a beer.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Bye bye.